Hello and welcome to CTN. To learn more about the show, please visit ciotalknetwork.com. And the topic today is achieving a healthy team dynamics for optimal results. As a leader, imagine you were to choose a team, the ideal team for yourself to help realize your strategy and the vision that you've laid out for the company. You could have one team which has a bunch of different people who enjoy innovation. They are always very motivated and inspired, yet they have a shared common purpose and identity, and they are all working together with full camaraderie to achieve that vision and purpose. That could be awesome, right? But then there could be another team. You had a choice to build another type of team which takes pride in being very accurate. They would formally participate in debates and deliberation. They would be very cautious in the way they behave, the way what they say, how they say it. And also, they would always focus on making sure whatever process was laid out, it is reliably followed. Question for you, which team would you rather have as your team? You could have very inspired, motivated people, but if they're loose cannons and they go their own path, you're not always sure whether what you had set out to do will they deliver. On the other hand, if people are too cautious, then you would lose that innovation and that spontaneity which brings out the best ideas, and you get to do things which are fun yet very productive for the organization. So the discussion here is to figure out a way to see if you can blend the best of both teams that I had laid out and actually achieve a healthy team dynamic which delivers the best, most optimal results. So to discuss this, I have Alejandro Lammertyn, Chief Digital and Information Officer with Tenaris. Hey, Alejandro, how are you?
Hi, how are you doing?
Very good.
Pleasure to be here.
Lovely to have you. And like the way I've laid out this, so I'm sure when you were to define an ideal team, while I gave my 2 cents about what that team would look like, would love to start with you sharing what would that ideal team look like, which you feel will do justice to the vision and the strategy you are laying out for the organization.
Yeah, thank you. I fully agree with your vision that most of us would prefer the first team, the team A, let's call it, then have people motivated, innovative, bringing ideas, etc. The question is why or how you can make it happen. And I think in the end, you would need to blend because you need to have a process in place. All the teams to work effectively, not only they should have the transparency, they should have the energy and the motivation and to be ready to propose new ideas, but you need to have a process in place with KPIs, not strict, but something that you can follow as a team to make sure that you are going in the right direction. So I think the blend is to make sure that you put process to the first definition of team that you have made.
Now, so that is a dream and in an ideal state, based on the vast experience you've had across multiple organizations, leading many initiatives. What have you seen the ground reality? Where does the actual team you end up getting, inheriting, or even building fall short of that ideal state?
Yeah, you know that I am now in digital in this part of my career, but I have been in many different areas of the organization, building a global organization from scratch. And of course, there are many challenges because you need to have specific objectives to a team or an area that should perform according to the expectations. But at the same time, you need that team to work together with other teams to make sure that the overall organization is efficient. And this is the main challenge because for that, you need to have shared objectives. You need to have processes that are aligned and objectives that are aligned with the ultimate goal. And this is a big challenge. I give you an example. We are in our organization, we have functional areas that are normally global. And then we have the regions that are basically executing what they need to execute. Sometimes the execution or what is required by the region to execute their objectives are not fully aligned with what the functional areas are defining, or vice versa. And this creates a conflict. How you manage those conflicts and how you make sure that the team works as a team, no matter the specific individual objectives are taking place, is really the challenge. And for that, you need to put procedures, and goals, objectives, and a way of measuring those objectives to make sure that it happens.
Now, you mentioned that there are certain things which we have to put in place. And with the right intent that you want this ultimate ideal state of healthy team dynamics for you to achieve the best, most optimal results, what would you say are the challenges you faced, or other companies or other leaders who are like you trying to build such team dynamic are likely to face, which would prevent you from getting this dynamics in place?
As I mentioned, the question is how you proceed with these shared objectives. Normally, in very hierarchical organizations, this is very difficult to achieve because you try to segment the objectives by area, and then you create these silos that are the main preventers of success that would put the functions or the regions or whatever function just following their own objectives and resolving very badly the challenges of shared objectives. And this is the main issue that you have. Sometimes you try a top-down definition of objectives and try to communicate across, but then the areas would function as they are, and as the leaders of each function is trying to drive their organizations. And this alignment does not exist necessarily. So it's very critical that you put the clear KPIs and incentives, and the performance evaluation should be done taking care of this shared vision and alignment and collaboration. And for that, of course, the performance evaluation is very important to have this 360 view that not only you are measured by your area objectives, but also your customers or internal customers evaluating you, and also your upper management and your lower management is able to define if you are complying with this vision. I think in the case of IT in particular, clearly agility has bring, and all the agile processes and all the methodology has brought up this issue in a better way, but not the entire organization is working in agile. That's why I think it's a process that needs to have more development.
Now, if you were to see any team, so even when you would inherit a team or you will build one, but there is no permanence in that team. People are leaving, people are getting added, you're merging departments, you're merging companies. So it's always in a fluid state. So yes, we can expect that there could be some ebb and flow of the dynamic, which will have some ripple effects of any change that you bring, and then perhaps it will settle down. But then, could there be a common, what I call as a holy grail of healthy team dynamic, which we can strive for? So we always use that as a benchmark.
There is not a holy grail or anything, I would say. But from my experience, of course, you need to define the profile of people that you want in your team. And then it's a question of selection, recruitment, if you are capturing the right profile for this approach. And then, of course, again, it's the leaders that you develop. Because once you set up a way of working, you need to make sure that your leaders are following this, that you have all the training required for all the team members to adhere to this way of working. And then the process of recruitment and selection is critical. Now, what is very important, and the pandemic has not helped, is how you build this culture with the participation of the newcomers, how you train the newcomers to make sure that they perceive this way of working from the very beginning.
And if you are saying that there is no holy grail, so maybe, so ideal state is not known, but we can get a good gut feel that whether it's going or not. But then if you cannot measure anything, we truly cannot improve it. So would you say, could there be some sort of, if not holy grail, or some sort of threshold or a benchmark to say, or some signs, some symptoms that whether it is healthy or it is diseased or it is just normal or needs attention, SOS?
Yes, of course. And this is where, again, as I mentioned, from the team A or team B, for this to happen, you need to have clear KPIs that are measuring how you are progressing in this vision of a healthy team in one hand. And on the other, as I said, is how you evaluate your people according to their performance. That performance is not only linked to the specific objective of each person, but how they correlate and they work within the team. And this is something that it's easy to say, but it's not so easy to put in place, because it's always much easier to look at the specific performance KPI and say, are you meeting that goal or not? It's a little bit more complex when you're trying to measure if this person is a team player, is adding value, is bringing innovation to the team, is working the way you aspire for them to work.
So if I were to ask you, said, okay, we have a dream team, or we aspire for a dream team. But then if you are looking at what is expected of that team is also shifting very quickly. And so what your benchmark could have been or standards could have been a couple of years ago, before COVID or any other major disruption that we have seen, that could have changed now. So if you did a comparison where life was normal to where we are today, where would you have seen the difference, or what new benchmark would you like to see established by any leader like you for the team which can deliver in today's environment? And whatever that you had set out to do and did to get to that level, have you been able to do? One is to put a plan in place, another is to execute, third is to see if that execution got you to where you wanted to.
Yeah, very interesting question. I think this is a big challenge, because global organizations, as the one I am working with, tend to have annual budgets where you fix the direction where you want to go and try to measure all the KPIs and all the execution of projects, etc., based on this annual budget. At the same time, the world is changing more and more frequently. You need to react to these changes, and you need to bring this agility to your teams. Clearly, you need to modify your objectives according to the needs of the moment. The question is how you then relate this change to the overall organization objectives that have not changed. And this is the dynamic that I think from our side in IT, we are achieving this goal. We are trying to even change the scope and the priorities of the projects that we are involved based on what is going on at a certain moment. But how you then have these objectives change and replicated in a performance evaluation that shows the reasons why you make that changes still is a work in progress. I think in global organization, not the new ones that are coming, the startups, etc., that have embedded this clearly from the very beginning, because they are reacting spontaneously to any change. For the big organizations, this is still a challenge. We are having this challenge, and I think we are moving in the right direction, but it takes time.
Let's take a quick break, listeners. We'll be right back after these messages. And when we come back, let's try to see if there is possibility of packing two different types of attitudes, mindsets, and skill sets, which is on one hand, you're spontaneous, you're frank, you are trying to innovate. And on the other hand, you're task focused and you want to always stick to the process. These are left and right brained almost type of people or individuals, which you're trying to bring together and still be able to get to where you want to as a business with all the initiatives that you have outlined for the team. And if you can, what do you think would be the obvious and not so obvious challenges you should be ready to tackle? And if, Alejandro, when we come back, of course, you're going to respond to it. Would be great to hear from you when you tried to do something like this. What challenges you faced and how did you tackle them so you were able to get these two different types of individuals with different sets of DNAs, if you will, to come together and help give you the healthy team dynamic you look for. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Today, enterprise technology is both strategic and global. Each week on CTN CIO Talk Network, IT thought leaders from around the world share their experience with listeners as they discuss with Sanjog Aul how they are trimming costs and partnering with business to innovate and help IT become more competitive, better care for customers, and improve the corporate bottom line. If you want to keep up with IT thought leadership, listen to CTN CIO Talk Network with Sanjog Aul at CIOTalkNetwork.com. You are listening to CTN CIO Talk Network with Sanjog Aul. To learn more about our program, please visit CIOTalkNetwork.com. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back. So, Alejandro, when you get people, many times you would inherit, or some people have that the personality itself, and you have to get 2 or 3 different flavors of these people with the right and left brain type of individuals, plus their skill sets are different, and you want to package them together into that beautiful looking team, which is a healthy team dynamic. What did you actually face as you brought them together, tried to get them to work together, and how did you deal with them?
Interesting. Of course, you have to be very consistent with what you say. It's really walk the talk. That means that if you are really trying to thrive for an organization that is valuing a spontaneous innovation and approach and added value from your team and working as a team in collaboration, etc., you need to act like that. You need to give the proper recognition and even to be very formal in recognizing to the team members that are aligned to your vision. And the ones that are not, work, of course, not exposing them in the meetings, but they start realizing that while being part of the team. And some will be able to change if they are not aligned to this vision, and some will not, and a change of mix if required. But you have to be very consistent, because these are things, again, that are easy to say, but are much more complex to implement and sustain in the long run. No, because sometimes you really need to take decisions that are hard, and maybe the spirit of the team may have an impact, and you need to decide what is the right decision for the long-term projection of the organization and the team you are working. So the consistency and walking the talk is very relevant.
Now, when you did try to do that, was it something that your team itself demanded from you for them to give what you want? Because, it's not essentially a give and take, but one is to say things consistently. But many times what you say is not always followed, or what you expect is not always going to come to you. So do you just do the right thing and wait for things to happen, or there is some inquiry that you do targeted at the very team and say, help me help you. I would love for you to be a great team, but tell me, what do you want from me or from each other for it to become a great team? If you've had that conversation, what are the people saying who are part of the team? What do they need for them to work well together?
Yes, good question. We have in place our scheme of opinion surveys. Normally, we used to do it once a year. With the pandemic, we started doing 2 or 3 times a year because of variations in the mood and on all the things that happened to all of us during this period. And this is the formal feedback that we would receive as an organization and as leaders of a function to work with. But what is very essential is to be close to your team, to make sure that the people can talk without being judged for what they say. Because this is the way that you really have spontaneous and sincere feedback of what they need. So what I normally do is I work in these opinion surveys and work out a plan based on that. Then I try to work with a team to make sure that these proposals that are being, most of them by them, are all aligned and they take leadership also some of the initiatives, basically in the way we do team building, in the way we apply agility, in the way we put the meetings in place. And we try to collaborate, and I give them tasks to perform to say, hey, if you want this to happen, you should also lead or help me to lead this participation of the team in making the team more efficient is essential. You as a leader can have an idea, an opinion, can try to drive to a certain direction. But if they don't feel, your team does not feel that they are driving or the team is driving what is needed, then nothing will happen. So it's a consistent alignment, permanent alignment that you do on a daily basis, apart from the transformational processes that we do with our surveys every year.
Now, and every one of us as leaders, when we are setting out to do great things, and we know we will need a good, healthy team dynamic for us to realize our visions and our strategies, then could we, or are we already not recruiting well? Are we not doing the right thing so that the right people in the right mindset with the right grooming come to the team? And then besides the fact that we say we want a good team dynamic, are we not already assigning them the tasks so that they feel that they are growing well? And so the team dynamic should not be a forced effort. Could this not be by design an outcome of all the other right things we do, starting from hiring practices to role descriptions to induction to training, on any other development you will do for an individual or as a team, so that they feel that this is when the company is contributing and the leader is contributing towards their overall well-being individually and collectively, we should reciprocate by working well together as a team. Are we not doing that? Or if at all we are trying, what holds us back? What are the things which would prevent you from investing in them proactively so that healthy team dynamic is not a challenge anymore?
I think, again, what is very important is proactively working for the team that you would like to have. And for this, you need to have the proper incentives and recognition. People need to feel that the achievements that we perform are a result of the teamwork and align with the team effort. And they need to feel that this is done because of their work and not because of a leader that is saying, this is my job and I have been able to make this happen. Of course, not everybody is aligned. Not all the functions in the organization would work the same way. You need to make sure that at the top management level. This is also very well perceived. And again, walk the talk also from the CEO perspective to make sure that all are aligned. Now, the biggest challenge that you have are the technical leaders or the people that in a different circumstance and environment and with different managerial skills have been successful for what they were doing. So it's very difficult for those people to understand why to change. And these are one of the challenges. So the ones that have been very good in technical understanding and deployment and not very much involved in the soft part, sometimes are having trouble in understanding the merits and how to change the way they work, the way the team works, and how they personally change. And this is one of the big challenges that we have, because you could have very good technical people, managers, that you need to make them change to make sure that then you have the team that you want. A very important challenge.
So one saying people use is whenever we are expecting something from someone, that may not happen. But when we inspect, they know that you're inspecting, then it happens. So this particular approach has two sides. One is a positive side, is that things are not happening, you can intrude or you can intervene and try to help to see why is it not happening and get people on the right track. On the other hand, it will look like that you're micromanaging. So if you had to keep the healthy team dynamic development as the agenda, would you just stop at setting expectations and trusting them? Or would you also put some things as part of performance management, that this is an expected behavior and you continue to inspect it if that is happening, and if not, then you take action? What would get you to the best results in your experience?
Yeah, clearly for me, my experience, my personal experience as well, working 30 years reporting to the CEO, what is very relevant is trust. And again, it's aligned with walk the talk and be consistent, etc. So your team members will work according to the level of trust that you create. And the level of trust does not mean that you will not have KPIs or you will not control specific goals. The level of trust is built on reinforces the positives and working as a mentor to improve the things that anybody needs to improve. If you are only forcing your team and showing the weak part of their performance, then it's very difficult because you lose transparency, you lose commitment, you lose the incentive of the guys doing the job and bringing new ideas. So how you build trust to the team is essential to make this magic team A that you describe happen. No, I think this is the clear goal.
Okay, so when we are looking at you, who is made in charge of getting a team in place, continue to make sure that whatever changes come, they are performing well, but also have a strong team dynamic. But you cannot pull this off alone. What help and support do you need as a leader so that you can deliver on this charter of having a healthy team dynamic, so that you can, as a group, as a department, can deliver the best optimal results?
Good question. I will give you an example now based on my role as Chief Digital and Information Officer. And this is very important. Of course, you need to align with human resources. All the mechanism of objectives, incentives, performance evaluation, etc., should be bought by human resources, of course, in alignment with the CEO. But this is one aspect of that is needed to have very healthy teams. The other element that for me is crucial is how you build this relationship of shared goals and responsibility on the objectives for the development of IT solutions. And who should lead this tools development is critical. And this is where you need to build relationship with the areas of partnership and not relationship of customer supplier relationships like it were in the past, where the line would try to say what they need, enforce, and try to make the supplier of the solution pay the consequences if something goes wrong. See, this type of partnership is essential, and with agility, the role of the product owner is very crucial. That has to come from the business, as an example. This is crucial to make sure that then the team is feeling that not only your area, but also the rest of the organization is aligned with this vision of shared goals and working as a team. And this has a tremendous impact on the results of a CIO or digital solutions. If not, you are normally blamed by the things that go wrong, if things go right, the business would say, we made it. So when you are a supplier in a functional role, this partnership is essential. And I had the same case when I was strategic planning of the organization, when I was also responsible of supply chain of the organization, or even when I was in the side of the client as commercial. This sense of partnership by all the areas is essential to achieve, and the sense of equals. No, it's not that somebody is on top of the other. We are equals trying to achieve a common goal. And this is very important.
Again, thank you so much, Alejandro, for sharing your deep insights about the team dynamics. How do you make it healthy and do it so that you can deliver the best, most optimal results for the business? Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
And listeners, please stay with us on social media, connect with us there, and also subscribe to our podcast on all possible channels you can imagine the podcast exists. Once again, thank you for listening to CTN. This is your host, Sanjog Aul, signing off. Till next week, take care and God bless.